Hey there, everybody. So earlier today, I was talking about how great I found Windsurf to be compared to some other AI coding tools. And I had a few questions around how do I engage with it? Do I talk to it like a developer? Do I talk to it like a product manager? How good is it? All these sorts of things. And I just thought, why not just record a video and kind of show how I've been playing with it and using it? So, in my experience so far, I've only been playing with it for about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. I've primarily been using it in a web development context. So I figured let's get way outside of the box and we're going to use it to make a 2D game using Lua, which is a language I am semi familiar with, but definitely not an expert, and Love 2D, which is a game development framework that sits on top of Lua. I'm fairly familiar with it. I've done a couple attempts of porting Love 2D into JavaScript, so fairly familiar with it. So long story short, I'll be able to look at the code and determine like, oh, is this headed down the right track or are we going down the wrong track? But my goal here is to actually not write any code at all. And let's see what Windsurf does for us. And so yeah, let's kick it off. Let's make a 2D game in Lua using the Love 2D framework. To start, let's make sure we have all the required dependencies installed. I think the best way to do this would be for us to make a Lua file that creates a full screen application with a pink background. Oh, not a pink background, a pink background. And in the center of the screen, let's put a 24 by 24 pixel black square. Right now I have Windsurf set to GPT 4.0. I have not used 4.0 at all, to be honest with you. I typically have it set to Sonnet, but Sonnet was not working earlier. It just like literally wasn't doing anything. So let's see how this works. So I've created a main Lua file. So it's telling me, it tells us, okay, here's how I interpreted your instructions. And then it did an action. I have it set into write mode rather than chat mode. So in chat mode, it will only talk to you. In write mode, it will actually do things. So I have it set in write mode. So it interpreted, here's what we need to do. And then it did a thing. It created this file. And so there's only one file here, but if you could hit this open diff button, it will show you what's going on. And then it describes those changes to you. So let's look over this code. Love load. Yep. And okay. I'm going to accept all of these changes, but right off the bat, I don't believe that the Love library is being loaded. And we have two functions here, but neither of them are being called. Oh, but it's been a while since I played with Love. I wonder if we just run it through Love, the Love library is inherently included, and one of these functions are just inherently like called. All right, so it gave us the terminal command to run, so let's run it and see what happens. All right, so it's telling me, so one of the things I like about Windsurf is it it analyzes the standard output and standard error, and if things don't work, it kind of like checks that out and tries to figure out what's going on. Surprisingly, I thought I actually did have Love installed, so let me... Wrong computer. That's the problem. I do have Love installed. Love is installed on the Windows computer, not this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and we will use brew to install it really quickly. My bad. And on that note, do I have Lua installed? Lua? Ah. Okay, I do have Lua installed. All right. And so, in theory, logo video delivery can be verified. Oh, how do I turn that off? This is annoying. Okay, I don't care. I'm okay with it. How to ruin a video 101. Ah, there we go. Open anyway. Yes. All right. Close. Now we can get back to this. Okay, so that is a full screen application with a 24 by 24 pixel square. Sweet. Okay. So now we want to be able to exit the application, set up the escape key to quit the game. All right, so boom, 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 all of that, yep, looks normal to me. Okay, let's act as if the black square is our character in our game. I would like to use the WASD keys to move up, WA, left, down, and right in the game. Don't let the character move outside of the confines of the screen. So again, it's basically repeating back to me, like, here's what I understood you want. So track the position of the square. That's something we're gonna have to do. Update it based on key presses. Make sure it doesn't leave the screen boundaries. And so I've written enough games here that I can probably, yep. So we need to know the screen height. Okay, so that is getting, that's setting like the middle of the screen position. Okay, on every update, so this is every tick of the game. That's what the DT is for. It's like time delta, essentially. How fast do we want to move? And then if the W key is pressed, we want to move up the screen, Y up. If S is pressed, some of this is kind of interesting. Math.max. So the max of 0 or, oh, interesting. I've actually never done it this way. I personally typically have had a check that's like, oh, is it less than 0? Then don't do anything. So that's actually a pretty slick way of going about this. Okay. Roughly, this looks okay. And then now that we are doing, yeah, so it just moved a lot of this initial character positioning into, we'll call it the constructor, right? The load method. Okay. So let's see if it just works. So far, so good. Let's see the boundaries. Yep. Can't go there, can't go there. We will go all the way to the bottom right. Can't go past there. Can't go past there. So yeah, it's doing exactly what I would want. All right. I don't know. What else? So, let's implement procedurally generated platforms within the level that the character collides with and cannot, what are the right words here? And cannot, I don't know, occupy the same space. Let's see what happens. So we'll need to generate random platforms within screen boundaries, detect collisions, prevent the character from moving through the platforms. We're going to define a table to store platform information. A table in Lua is basically an array. Generate platforms at random positions. Add collision detection logic to prevent the character from moving through the platforms, okay? So, okay, it's decided we're going to make 10 platforms on each generation. I suspect this new square X and Y, it is predicting where we will move to. Yeah, that is exactly what it is. And then right here, check for collisions. So we're checking that new square X and Y. If we're going to be colliding, we can't move there. So don't update the character's position. Otherwise, we're good to go. And then, oh, this will be interesting. I didn't tell it what color to make the platforms. So 050505 RGB. I don't know, what is that going to be? Some shade of gray? I'm not sure. And then table to store the platforms. Function to generate the random platforms. So then, yep. This is just making, okay. Generate platforms. Let's make sure. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and accept all this code. I wanna see where that is being called. Oh, okay, right here in the loader. And then check collision should be being called in the update function. Yeah. All right, let's see what happens. Nothing. Attempt to call global generate platforms a nil value. So here, this is fun. So what we're gonna do. Okay, I can't copy this. All right, so we're just gonna copy this. I'm not gonna try and debug it myself at all. When I run this code, I get the following error and stack trace. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it's doing some rearranging, supposedly. Did it actually do anything? I'm not convinced it actually did anything. Okay, but it says in Lua, functions essentially need to be defined before they're called. So I don't believe it did anything. I wonder if this local keyword is what is potentially screwing things up. But okay, so it didn't do anything. Oh, hey, I fixed it. Sweet. Okay. Oh, and then our collision detection it's off by 1 pixel, but it is actually working. Okay. All right. Let's add ground to our game. It should cover the entire bottom of the screen and be, I don't know, 10 pixels high, and should follow the same collision rules as our platforms do. Okay, so it's basically, it made a ground platform, which is exactly what I would have done as well. So we've got ground, update ground based on, okay, so it's taking into account the screen height. Check for collision with ground. Okay, it's a little interesting. I bet you we could probably, so I'm gonna accept all this, but I bet you we could probably prompt it to like, this can be refactored to like use the same check collision sort of code. All right, so let's see what we got. All right, so we have ground, platforms still don't platform, and we can't go through the ground. All right, now let's get like really wild here. Okay, now let's implement gravity. Feel free to pull in any other libraries you think may make this simpler for us. Ultimately, we want to turn this game into a platformer in which the player will jump around on the platforms, and gravity will cause them to move back down towards the ground. I have no idea how this is going to work out. Okay, so it repeated back my intent to me, but it's not doing anything. You froze. There. Go ahead with your changes. It's taking it's thinking about it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, is it locked up? And then it does a thing. Nope, there we go. All right, I was almost on the verge of clicking the stop button. Okay, so it says I've implemented gravity and jumping mechanics in your game. A constant downward force is applied to the character simulating gravity. The character can jump when on the ground or a platform by pressing the W key. The character's vertical velocity is updated based on gravity and jumping. You can now run the game to see the character affected by gravity and able to jump on platforms. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to add or modify. So let's see. So we've got a gravity value, a jump velocity value, negative 300, negative meaning you go up. The current velocity y, I imagine that's the current velocity, 0. And then is on ground is false. This is going to be a Boolean that is updated if we're on the ground or on a platform, basically letting us know whether we're allowed to jump or not. Fun change right there. It decided it needed to update that comment, which, to be honest, is pretty valid. Horizontal speed, because now we have vertical speed. So, it's not bad. I deleted our whole WASD, so we're going to have to look out for where that moved to. Okay. Okay. Move horizontally. Okay, so here's our horizontal movement. A and D. Yep. Oh, okay. Interesting. So it was smart enough to actually remove the S from our WASD sort of navigation. So now we only have horizontal, A and D. We don't need to move down because gravity moves us down. And then W is now our jump button. Okay. All right, so we fell down. We're moving left and right. We are jumping. Okay. Let's see if we can jump off platforms. Yep. All right. Very cool. And I can't double jump, so that is all of this is, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you see I'm moving to the left, and then I just boop, I magically just boop right up on top of that platform. For now, we will call that a feature, not a bug. But that is interesting. Okay. All right. I don't know. Let's implement a double jump feature. And I'm not going to tell it anything more than that. I'm curious, like, how does it interpret what a double jump is? How does it implement it? Let's see what happens. And I don't know why it has been. Earlier this evening, I was on, like I said, I was on the Sonnet model, and it was doing this as well, where it just like it would not respond with anything. You froze. Keep going. All right, and so what I would expect is some sort of counter of like, I'm in the air, I've jumped once, I can only jump this many times. Okay, so it says I've implemented double jump, jump out, a variable jump count tracks the number of jumps performed. Yep. The player can jump up to max jumps. It's currently set to 2. Yep. A reset jump count. The jump count resets when the player's on the ground. So that would be, yeah, our is on ground boolean. Whenever it hits false, reset that back down to 0. Is basically exactly how I would expect this to happen. Yep. Boom. Okay, and then what changed here? Oh, the only thing that changed in our jump is we increased our jump count. All right, accept all the changes. Let's run our game. All right, so now, okay, I'm moving around. I can jump once. Oh, I accidentally jumped twice right there. Jump once. I'm on the platform. I can 1, 2. Okay. Still got the interesting little bug right there. We're actually I'm gonna try and address that next. I'm trying to figure out how to describe that. Okay, but I mean it did exactly what I wanted. Double jump is done. Okay, so now how to describe this bug. Okay. I've noticed a bug in our game. When we are moving horizontally, our character, when we are moving horizontally and our character moves laterally within the same space as a platform, our character will teleport on top of the platform. We should update our code such that the character does not move on top of the platform, but is stopped in place and can no longer move. Maintain the functionality of the character being able to stand or to jump and stand on top of a platform. I don't know why it's doing this. It was not doing this. Like, keep going. It was not doing that. Any other time I've used this, it was not doing that. I haven't had to prompt it to like, yep, okay, go. Okay, So, the character will only land on top of a platform if falling from above. Oh, okay, that's... Okay, I can imagine as if we're moving horizontally and then our X and X positions overlap with the platform, then our previous logic might have been like, oh, you're on top of the platform now. So now you can only be on top of the platform if you come from above. Okay, I think that makes sense. The character will be stopped in place if moving into the side of a platform, preventing lateral teleportation. Okay. If velocity is greater than 0, okay, so we're falling. Yep. Huh, okay. Interesting that it messed with our jump code here. Okay. All right, and then yeah, our A and D, our lateral movement, completely changed. Okay, so it's just doing more strict collision detection on lateral movement, horizontal movement. Oh, and here's that jump count code. It moved it down here. I don't know why. Okay. Okay. Let's see what happens. Watch, I'm not gonna get a platform. Oh, there we go. Okay, so hey, I'm not teleporting on top of it anymore. It is doing what we expected. It's also fixing. If you notice before, we had a 1 pixel difference between maybe not the ground. We still have the 1 pixel difference between platform collision detection, but not. Okay, we do not have that difference on the y-axis. Only on the x-axis. You can see there's a little line of pink right there. That almost looks like 2 pixels. And now it doesn't exist on that one. And it does there. Okay, our collision detection is not perfect. But for just an AI generated like whoop-de-doo, I'm not mad at it. Are my platforms being generated in the same place every single time? This platform in the bottom left is one I've been testing against. Okay, so this generally looks like kind of a, I don't know, we've got a cross, boom. All right, I'm gonna rerun the game, see if they are actually random. That looks really very similar. Try it one more time. Yeah, I think those are always in the same spot. So it looks like our platforms aren't being randomly generated. Update our code to randomly position the platforms throughout the level and make them random lengths as well. Oops, forgot the word lengths. As well. And now I'm gonna have to tell it to keep going because it's being dumb tonight. Oh, no, hey, it went. All right, so our generate, yeah, this is exactly where I expected this code to happen. Generate platforms. Okay. So I see the, oh, okay. So width is being randomized, and then the X and Y position is being randomized, and then keep some space from the bottom. I don't actually know what. Okay, it's making, kind of smart. It doesn't want a platform to be within 100 pixels of the bottom of the level is what I think that is doing there. Okay. All right, those are definitely in a different spot. That does not, these doubles over here look interesting to me. One more time. Yeah, that, it does not feel random. When I run this application multiple times, I get the same level, same platform positions. Are we truly generating random values? And this is where, in any other language, I imagine we're not seeding it. Typically, you would seed a random number generator with like the, CPU time. I don't know Lua enough to know if that's what we need to do. And keep going. We need to see, yep, we need to see the random number with a different value on each run. This is currently done using the current runtime. There we go, random seed. Okay, so it looks like in Lua, you can just like, at runtime, toss it an integer. Okay. Let's see what happens. Oops. Okay, those are definitely different positions. We'll run it again. Yep, awesome. Okay, so I am now running in different, the level's different every time. Okay, let's add collectibles to this game. We will call them apples, and they should be represented by 4x4 pixel red circles. And I intentionally didn't tell it how many to add, where to add them, how to add them. I'm curious about like what it comes up with. And I don't know why it is doing this. So, all right, to add collectibles to the game, we'll need to do these things. Define a table, so that's an array. To store apple information, yep. Generate apples at random positions, draw them. Yes. Do it. And stop making me tell you to do it. All right, so it says, all right, I've added collectible apples to your game. So a table to store the apples, apples table, yep. Random generation. Apples are generated at random positions within the screen boundaries. I didn't tell it to do it within the screen boundaries. It decided that, which is exactly the intent. That's what I wanted. Okay. So, okay. This feels, line 30 here feels a little bit redundant. We would probably want that outside of the function. Like that should just be data that we have available to the whole application. Okay, then for starting at 1 to the number of apples, where's num apples? Where is that? Oh. All right, right there, 5. Okay, so then we loop through. So it's gonna give me 5 apples, put 1 at a random position, put it in the table. Okay. I wonder if did it do any collision detection? Okay, draw the apples. Okay, so it has not done any collision detection yet on, like what happens if I grab an apple? Oh, those are small. Okay. I'm curious. Okay. Yeah, no collision detection. All right. All right, so let's see. Those apples are small. Let's increase their size to 12 by 12. And when the player character collides with an apple, remove the apple from the game. And I paused there because I was curious whether I wanted to tell it to stop rendering the apple, delete the apple. I didn't want to influence the AI and how it does it, because you could just delete the apple from the table. You could just stop rendering it, but technically the apple is still in memory. I'm curious what it comes up with. All right, so it increased the apple size 12 by 12, which should be fairly, straightforward. Collision detection. When the player character collides with an apple, the apple is removed from the game. You can now run the game to see larger apples and test the collision functionality. So where is that collision? Okay, so it's using the same check collision function that we're using against our platforms in the ground. And it is, okay, so this is the route I would have taken. It's removing that apple from the array / table in Lua, because the render function is just rendering every apple on every tick. So if you remove an apple from that array, that apple will no longer be rendered. Okay. So let's see if we can go collect apples. Oh, we got one. Oh, I just teleported through the... Did you see that? Okay. Good bug to file away. All right, so I collected an apple. All right. Boom, boom. I'm not gonna make it over there. Okay. All right, the character can currently move. How to describe that bug? The character can currently move vertically through the bottom of platforms. Update the code so platforms cannot be, I don't know, moved through, right? To prevent the character from moving vertically to the bottom of the platform, we need to adjust the collision logic to handle both upward and downward. This means stopping character when they hit the bottom or top of the platform. I'll update. Let's proceed. Yes, proceed. I don't know why it's not doing. It wasn't until I wanted to record a video that all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you got to tell me to do things. All right. Okay, so just like we're checking the falling, we were previously checking the falling logic, now we're checking the jumping logic. I decided to update a comment here. Okay, bro. All right. Let's see if I can jump through the bottom of this platform. Nope. All right. Okay. Now let's give it a hard one. And I think this will be the last one I want to do. I like treating the AI nicely. All of this is looking good. Thank you. For our final task, let's make sure that all platforms, let's make sure that all apples are reachable by the player. Let's make sure that all apples and platforms are reachable by the player. The player may have to navigate from platform to platform to accomplish this, but no platform or apple should be impossible for the player to reach. So it looks like it took the cheap way on apples. Place apples on or near platforms to ensure they can be collected. So it's probably just going to have a really naive approach to apples. I'm more interested in the platform to platform, like navigable path. I've updated the logic for generating platforms and apples to ensure platforms are generated in which way that they form a navigable path with manageable vertical gaps. Apples are placed on or near platforms to ensure that they can be collected by jumping from platform to platform. You can now run the game. Okay, let's go look at our code. Okay, so we're tracking where the last platform was. So the next platform that's being generated is just within a distance of the previous platform. Which also means we're no longer doing the random generation of platform width or positioning. Well, the width is random. Yeah, the width is still random. The positioning is not. The X positioning is random. The Y is not. It's making sure that it is within a specific Y distance of its previous platform that was generated. Okay. And then it decided generate apples is no longer the proper function name. It is now generate reachable apples. Local platforms. Okay, so then it picks a platform, puts an apple near it. Okay. So now we generate reachable. Oh, I didn't even realize. Oh yeah, it also renamed generate reachable platforms. Okay, nice. Okay, this is fun. All right. Okay, so technically, all of this should be reachable if it did what it said it was doing. Oh, this is a big gap. How the fuck? No, I don't think that's... Okay. Our logic's a little off. That's not... Yeah. Okay, so the logic on generating that is not quite there. And I think the problem here is it's taking into account vertical gaps, but not horizontal gaps. And so I can kind of see already where it probably generated this platform, and then this platform, and then that platform all the way to the left, which on a Y basis would be within 50 points, 50 pixels, but it's not taking into account the X basis. And then it generated this one over here, which is within 50 pixels, of the one on the far left. So I can see where the logic is failing. Our reachable platforms logic should also take into account horizontal axis gaps. Otherwise, we may generate platforms that are too far away for the player to reach. Do it. I don't know why it's requiring that prompt. It's annoying me though. I've updated the platform generation logic to ensure platforms are reachable by considering both vertical and horizontal platforms. Plays close enough. Vertical goes blah blah blah. You can now run the game. Okay. Okay, and yeah, I was going to say I suspect the logic is going to be pretty similar to how it's handling the Y gaps. All right. Okay. More boring of a level, I will not lie, but it's doing what we wanted. All right. Thank you. Finally, let's add a score to the top left corner of the screen. It should start at 0, and when the player grabs an apple, it should increment by 1. Go. All right, and this should be pretty straightforward here. All right, so score +1 when we grab an apple, and then we draw the score. Yep, that is exactly what I thought. All right, oh, it's very small, but you can see it in the top left. Oh boy, that's actually a challenge. There we go. Bam, bam, 2, yay. All right, now, review your work in this file and provide critical feedback. I'm gonna switch it to chat mode on this one. Provide critical feedback and opportunities for optimization. The random number generator is seated once at the start. This is correct. This is correct. Okay, that's not, I guess that's positive feedback. Hey, you did it right. Okay. Platform examples are generated with logic to ensure reachability. Consider encapsulating generation logic in a dedicated function or module if the game complexity increases. Okay, that makes sense. Collision detection is straightforward and checks for intersections between rectangles. If performance becomes an issue, consider spatial partitioning techniques. Okay. Gravity and jumping mechanics are implemented with basic physics. Introduce more advanced. Okay. The code is organized with functions. As the game grows, consider. Okay. Yep. The game performs well with the current feature set. It's interesting that it doesn't know that. There's no way it ran the code and like, yep, this is functioning performantly. So it's just assuming that, but that's entertaining. An entertaining hallucination is what I'll call that. Monitor performance as features are added. Yep. Game is simple and functional. Yeah. The code is moderately comment, add more comments. Overall, the current implementation is solid for a simple platform game as you add more features, complexity, keep the code base. Yep. Cool. So that was me playing around with Windsurf.AI, sharing how I have kind of been engaging with it. Like I said, this is my first time writing a game with it. I didn't pre-run this at all. My experience so far has typically been related to web and mobile development, but I've really enjoyed using it and working with it and playing with it. And yeah, excited to see where this technology goes, and would love to hear how you're all using it in your day-to-day work, or just, for funsies, kind of like this, right? So yeah, reach out to me at WhalesMD on essentially all platforms.